We just went
All
live.
right. Welcome everybody to Hump Day Hangouts. This is episode 456, the one where Adam and Bradley talk about flooding basements instead of answering your local SEO questions. Now, just kidding. We're going to answer your questions. We're just commiserating about issues with homes and how much that can suck. But we got the good stuff today. We got a few questions. And then if you are live, let us know you're here. If you got any questions, pop them in and we may have a chance to get to them. And if Bradley has to disappear real quick, it might be because he's got some people coming in to do some work on his house. So before we get into all of that, we've got a couple quick announcements. I want to say hi to Chris and Bradley. So Chris, we'll start with you. How are you doing today?
We're dressed up, man. Like I need some vacation.
And, busy, right?
Yeah, pretty much. We'll see. Like at the same time, exciting things are always happening. So like I'm very grateful for the things that are happening.
Fair enough. All right. Well, Bradley, how about you? How are you doing today?
Good, except like I said, I got a flooded basement and I had to turn the water main off, and I expected any moment to hear some plumbers coming in the back door. So, and that could be taken multiple ways.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
That was this thing. I'm like, wait a minute, maybe I shouldn't have said that way. But no, it sucks, man, because now I'm gonna have to deal with that mess. And I'm supposed to be leaving tomorrow morning to go travel for a few days, and I hope this doesn't kill that because I'm gonna have to be home for the fucking plumbers. I don't know. Anyway, whatever. I'm here, so let's answer some questions.
Let's do it. A couple quick announcements. Wanted to say we have confirmed the VIP location for POFU Live. So we're gonna take over. We rented out an entire bowling alley in Boston. So we're really excited about this. We're gonna have food there, of course, drinks, and then bowling available. If you don't want to bowl, you just want to hang out, you can do that too. But we'll have the entire place to ourselves. So we were looking around for something cool to do, something where we could hang out, but also have some fun. So really looking forward to that. We were able to work with them and take it over on Friday night. So that's going to be really cool. So after the first day of POFU Live, all the VIP attendees are going to head over and we'll be at the bowling alley again for food, drinks, hanging out, bowling, just having fun. So we'll have that I'll have to look 4 or 5 hours. That's going to be a blast. So looking forward to that. If you haven't gotten your tickets, or your ticket to POFU Live, head over to pofulive.com. You can find out more information there. We really are looking forward to seeing everybody. This is the first year being able to do it in person after a couple years of doing it online, which was fine, but always fun to be in person. And on top of the presentations, it's all the little side conversations and all that stuff that people comment on that they really love, and the kind of networking and friendships that are made there. So recently we have confirmed a few more speakers. I know, Bradley, I think you told people last week about Peter Drew coming in and being, unfortunately, he can't make the trip from Australia to Boston, but he will be remote. And be giving a presentation there. Really excited about that, as well as Ted Kabaitis. So he will be in person. So really looking forward to that, of course, along with all of the other speakers. You can find out everybody who's going to be speaking and presenting at POFU Live. Just go over to pofulive.com. Anything else, you guys? Am I missing anything?
I don't
know. Like, did you tell people about the workout that we're doing? Like, me, Bradley, and you hitting the gym with our POFU VIP Plus attendees.
Oh man, shit! I didn't even know about this. This is super secret.
Yeah, well, private workouts.
That'd be awesome. Yeah, I'll take them on a run. You guys take them to the gym, and we'll just wear everybody out.
Did I mention that Bradley has like some weightlifting trainer certification? I don't know how to say it.
Oh yeah, Bradley. Yeah.
There's a CrossFit level 1 certified trainer. Yeah, I think that actually I think that expired last year because I got certified in 2017 and it's only good for 5 years. So I think that expired.
Don't worry. Like
I can
once you know how to
still whip your ass in the gym. It's fine.
Exactly. Let's kick some ass.
It's all right. All right, let's get into some questions, guys.
Real quick, Bradley, did you update the redirect?
No, I didn't. Son of a bitch. My fault.
So meanwhile, let's remind people to subscribe to the YouTube channel, like it and subscribe. Always good action
Please
point.
do. Yeah, and I saw somebody who commented on a previous POFU Live, a previous Hump Day Hangout, If you aren't getting notified when we go live, when you subscribe, you also want to enable notifications. So just subscribing may not do that, but that's up to you. If you want the notifications, that's great. We put out content daily, about a video a day, and then Hump Day Hangouts as well. So I think that isn't anything too crazy. So, when you subscribe, you can turn on the notifications as well and be notified when we go live.
Sweet.
All righty.
Yeah, my fault for not updating the redirect. This plumbing thing's got me all screwed up. So give me a second.
No worries.
It sucks, man. I was like, I heard water, and I was like, the hell is that noise? It's fucking.
Well, while we got a second too, I wanted to say we are firming everything up, and we will obviously be sending out an email and letting people know and posting on Facebook. But we've got an upcoming webinar planned for the 28th of August. I'm really excited about this. Bradley has seen this stuff in action, and I want to tease it a little bit. I don't want to give it away, but it's really cool. Some software dealing with reputation management. Really neat stuff that was developed actually from a mastermind member who was kind of scratching his own itch and been using it in his own agency for years, and then realized that other people kind of wanted to use it and could make use of this, and has been working for the past year to make this available publicly. And so we're going to be sharing that on the 28th of August. So we'll be sending out some more information, but really cool opportunities with this stuff as both a lead in for getting new clients or adding on to existing clients, or just making, if you're doing reputation management, making it much easier to manage. So really looking forward to that. Again, we'll have some more info. Yeah.
It's a cool app. He did a good job. All right. I got the redirect updated. So anybody that was just refresh, I don't know if that helps, but anyway, there you go. Can I grab the screen and get through these?
Go for it.
All right, let's do it. All right, so the first one was from Aaron saying he can't find the link for the Wednesday webinar. And I was going to say, it's always at semanticmastery.com/HDHO unless I forget to set up the redirect. And in which case, when you visit that URL, so semanticmastery.com/HDHO for Hump Day Hangout. That makes sense. That'll always take you to the most current replay until the day of when we start the live webinar, and then I set up the redirect, replace the redirect to the live webinar, unless I forget for 8 minutes like I did today. So it's always the same URL. It's been that URL for years. So again, semanticmastery.com/HDHO. Okay, if you want to pre-post questions, it's semanticmastery.com/HD questions. And then you can pre-post questions which go here into this form or sheet as you're seeing. Next, Bryce says, hey guys, is there any service subscription we can buy to connect our domains to help improve our sender reputation and help mitigate our emails going to junk promotional folders? Yeah, I use mailreach.co. I think it is mailreach.co. Well, to be 100% transparent, I have an account here too, but I use
Lemlist?
No, not Lemlist anymore. It's Folderly. I use Folderly, but I'm on a grandfathered plan that I got onto with Folderly that they don't offer anymore. Now the Folderly charges you $200 a month to have access to their email warming system. So I also have this to test it, and I know some of our members in Semantic Mastery are using this, and they say it works fine. So MailReach is what we're recommending right now. Okay, but that's precisely what it is for. There was another service that I was eyeing for a while, meaning I was looking at it, but I never actually tried it. One of our members did, because it was a done for you emailing warming service. It's called Ava Warm. But one of our members tried it and said that their support was really shitty. And the guys all spoke really broken Indian, like English, but with a really heavy Indian accent. So it was very difficult for him to understand. And apparently the support just wasn't great. So I'm not recommending this. This is one that you may want to look into, but I'm not recommending it because I've not tried it myself. I have tried this one though. This is, you kind of got to set it up yourself, but there's help docs and everything else that'll help you with it. And this works good. So I would encourage you to just try this one. All right. Next. Toby says, are you testing Wikitia? What do you even say that? I don't know. No, I'm not testing it. Never even heard of it until just now. What is Wikitia? Wikitia. Let's try that.
I'd heard of something differently. I'm guessing this is like the open source software you can use to build it up. Hilarious that Rand Fishkin's on the top there.
Yeah. Okay. No, I've not tested it. Anytime I've ever tried to do anything with any kind of wiki type of product, and everything that I've ever tried to do gets moderated out. So I stopped trying a long time ago of trying to edit it. Now, I guess some of these might be open source where they're not moderated as nearly as much, but yeah, I just stopped trying just because I never got anything to stick. Yeah, so my answer is no, I have not tested that. Short Sasquatch says, what do you use to track leads for Rank and Rent? I'm using signalwire number, which is cheap, but I have to do some development or use something like Zapier to push data somewhere. Just curious what you're using to do all that. Thanks. Yeah, I use high level. Go high level. Right. So, I mean, I use an answering pro. Okay. So I use high level to generate the phone numbers, and I have a sub account that I set up for each Google business profile, or each, it depends. Oh, yes, I have one for each. So if I have a lead gen asset, then I set up a high level sub account for that Google business profile location. That makes sense. But then I also set up for my lead buyers sub accounts through high level. So let's say I've got one Google business location and I happen to have 3 lead buyers that are buying leads, and they are all aware that the lead is being shared between contractors. I'm 100% transparent with my lead buyers that way. In some cases, they have the option to be exclusive. That's up to them. But anyway, let's just say I've got one Google business profile that 3 different contractors are purchasing leads or whatever I'm sending leads to from that one Google business location. Then I'm going to have 4 high-level sub accounts. One from which I know I can probably do everything within one high-level sub account, but I prefer to have a separate sub account for each contractor, because that way they can manage the lead in the pipeline. And most of my tree service contractors, once they get used to using the app, they like it because it helps them to close more leads, like because it does automated follow-ups, does all kinds of stuff. So anyways, like I said, I use high level for all that. High level generates the phone number. You used to have to do it through Twilio, but now through high level, the lead connector, which is just they're just reselling Twilio stuff, but you just set everything now up in high level. So it's so much easier now. So, and then, like I said, I run every phone call into an answering service. So I have a 24-hour answering service that I've been using since 2014. It's called answerconnect.com. So this company here, I've used them since 2014. To every single lead that I generate via phone call goes in the Answer Connect. Every other lead now goes, and then that gets piped into high level. So in other words, when they take the phone call and they take the lead information, there's a zap that pushes that data into high level. So it goes right into the appropriate Google business profile sub account. And then from there, I have an automation that triggers to send that same lead data out to all of the contractors. It basically pushes that data into their sub account. And then their sub account notifies them that they have a lead that they need to follow up on. That makes sense. Hopefully that's clear. Anyways, it's kind of my own lead distribution setup that I developed just over years of working with high level. So hopefully that's clear. I use high level just to push, because that, by the way, that keeps track of everything, right? It keeps track of the phone calls, emails, SMS, text messages, where they are in the pipeline. I can send out automated review requests. I can send out proposal reminders to accept or to decline the proposal. I can send out appointment reminders. Everything is done 100% through high level, and it just automates everything. Once it's set up, it's easy because you just duplicate sub accounts. Just essentially clone a sub account and push it in. They call it a snapshot. Install the snapshot in a new sub account, and it's all the automations are all set up. And I have it such that what they call custom values, which are basically short codes, where I go into custom values and I just complete the custom values for that contractor, and the automations and everything are already done. So it's really easy to scale and add new lead buyers in, or new locations, or whatever, or both, once you have everything set up and configured properly. So again, that's why I like high level. High level is a great platform. All right, there we go. Good enough. Let's move on. Next, Ronnie says, when developing lead generation website, is it more effective to create one site for each location or build a larger national site with multiple location pages? A larger national site with multiple location pages. Because as you build authority to that site, it gets stronger and stronger, such that subsequent locations that you add will benefit instantly because they will inherit the authority from the root domain. Does that make sense? So I always recommend developing a brand and then building out scaling and adding locations to that brand. So scaling it outwards, because every time you start with a new website, you're starting from scratch. You have to build, establish the site, build authority to it, all that kind of stuff. So why would you want to start that process over and over and over again from scratch? I don't want to. I prefer to have a single brand, or, create a brand and then add multiple locations to it and scale it out that way. Because again, if you're building links and you're building branded, entity assets and you're all the stuff that we do in SEO, then you're going to start building authority to that brand. You get not only into the domain, not only do you, talking about SEO authority, but also like authority in Google, period. Because now the brand is much more recognized, right? And so it makes it easier when you want to deploy new locations, because they tend to rank faster once, especially what's interesting is when you build enough authority to a branded domain, especially when you go to target like a less competitive area. And I've seen this occur multiple times throughout my career, where I built multi-location brands, et cetera. And then once you build enough authority to the brand and the domain, that when you go to add a new location, so it's expand and you add a new location, if it's a lower competition area, they'll rank almost instantly. And again, it's going to vary depending on keywords and all kinds of stuff. But I'm just saying I've seen it, because whereas if I had started with a new website in that lower competition area, it would still might take me 2-3 months to get ranked. Whereas because it is part of a brand that is already well established and has authority, that when I go to publish a page in lower competition areas, they will rank almost overnight. Does that make sense? So again, I would encourage you to spend more time building a brand and an asset that you expand than trying to build a bunch of separate individual ones. That's my preferred method. Okay. Hopefully that's clear. Paul says, regarding Citation Vault, I heard you say that we should only point Citation Vault at our GBP URL or Google Biz site, not the main website. Why is this? What will happen if we do it that way? And is there a preferred choice between GBP URL or Google Business Site, or are they of equal value? Thanks so much. Okay. The only reason why I don't like to use Citation Vault is because it is a known thing, right? They did a good job at like hiding their footprint from, in other words, like they had different IPs, different data centers and all that. They did a good job at that. But trust me, Google's aware of Citation Vault, right? So, but Google will never punish itself. So that's a perfect thing to use to link to the GB website or the Google Map share URL, because I've never seen Google ever punish itself, ever in my entire career. Have I ever seen anything get de-indexed or demoted that was a Google property? Period. Not saying it's never happened. I've just never seen it. I've never experienced it. And I don't have much of a life outside of this business. You know what I mean? So I'm in front of this fucking computer all day, every single day, and I've never seen Google punish itself. So use those kind of things for that, right? I wouldn't want to point it directly to the money side. I know people do it. I'm just saying it's not smart, because it's a clear indication to Google that you're trying to manipulate search, right? Google's aware of Citation Vault, but it won't punish itself. So of course, that's a good target, using either the Google Business website or the map share URL. If you have the Google Business website published and optimize the way that we teach, then it becomes powerful. It can be very powerful when done properly, which is why I say I would prefer to link to the Google Business website than to the map URL, because the Google Business website, you can add links to, there do follow links from the posts, the Google Business posts, or the CTA buttons. So it makes sense to push, in my opinion, more link equity, link juice, whatever, into the Google Business website than it is the map. However, in some cases, if you don't have a GB website, then we will use the map share URL. Now, I've not done any isolated tests versus where one location is pointed to the Google Business website, and the other, another location is pointing to like another Google Business profile. We're pointing to the map. I've not tested that in isolation to see if pointing to the GB website versus the map performs better or worse. I have not tested that. Generally, I just point to the Google Business website, and if it's published and optimized properly. If it's not published, then or not optimized, then I'll point to the map share URL. Does that make sense? What will happen if we do it that way? I'm not sure what you're asking. Pointing it to the money site or pointing to the Google properties? I'm not sure what the question is. I just don't like to point it to the money site because it is a known footprint. It's very easily identifiable too. So I don't like to I don't like to point it to money site. Hopefully that's clear. Ronaldo says, hey, Bradley, land flipping wise. All right, here's the land flipping question. So no, our audience will not be disappointed. Hey, Bradley, land flipping wise, we understand that certain states are known as attorney states where the deal has to go through an attorney, and other states are known as title states where a deal can just go through a title company without an attorney being involved. Has it ever bothered you that the state is an attorney state? No, because Virginia is. And that's where I did. I only flipped one piece of property outside of Virginia. And I flipped and excuse me, in land alone, I did 34 deals. I flipped 34 pieces of land in about 2 years. And then I flipped 15 or so houses, but that was 15 years ago. So and Virginia is an attorney state, and I only flipped one property outside of Virginia. So it never bothered me at all. It doesn't matter. I mean, again, if I talked about this, I use an assignment of contract is what I used over. Don't get me wrong. I used to do double closings, which are simultaneous closings. But there's a lot of tax implications that you can avoid by not doing that. And also it's just, there's also a lot more cost with closing and everything else when you do double closings. So an assignment of contract is so much cleaner. It's easier. It's less costly. So I just do an assignment of contract. And as long as you have a really good assignment of contract, I've never had an attorney turn it down. So in other words, if you find a county that's otherwise a good county to flip land in, would the fact that the state county is an attorney state deter you? Not at all. Again, Virginia is an attorney state. For real estate closings, all closings have to go through an attorney. So, and it never bothered me at all. I never had any problems. All right. Couple of comments, guys. And then, like I said, I'll wrap it up early once we get through these comments because I've got to go deal with a flooded basement. So hopefully we can get through this in the next couple of minutes. What's up, James, Cecilia, David, Anselmo, Michael? Captain had no shit. David's got a question. Everyone can answer. It should be simple, but certain challenge has been presented to me. It's not that I don't know, but I might need a redefine. Question is in the next post. How do you define a website? Is it just a single page? Or do you see it as a few pages? For me, it's a home about 200-300 pages and contact, right? What do you guys say? Not looking for specifics, just want to hear everyone's thought. Yeah, I mean, I'll call a single page website a website. If it's a single page, it's still a website, right? Yeah. In my opinion, if it's a website, a website's on a domain, whether it has 100 pages or 1 page, in my opinion. If it's a domain that on the route it resolves to at least a single page, in my opinion, it's a website. It's a web page, but it's also a website because it's contained within one page. I don't know if that makes sense. You agree, Adam? That's your opinion?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. It's just, to me, it's pun intended, it's semantics, I think. But yeah, right. You can have a fully functional whatever you want it to be online with one page. I mean, by definition, I don't know how I would actually define this, if it's a domain or subdomain or however you want to say it. But I think we can all say we've used single page sites, whether we built them or used them. And for me, that's good enough.
Yeah. By the way, I see Toby Beavers. What's up, Toby? He was, if I remember correctly, Toby, you're close to me in Charlottesville, if I remember correctly. I think we've chatted before. Somebody asked last week, and it was at the end of the webinar, and somebody was asking about how I would silo a real estate site. And I said, it's probably overkill. You don't need to do it for realtors and blah, blah, blah. I don't know that it was you, Toby. I see you say Toby Beavers Realtor, and that just reminded me that somebody asked me about how would I silo a real estate website. And I said, it's probably overkill for realtors. But then there was a follow-up question, which I saw after we had ended the webinar, which was, no, I was asking about like, how would you structure for like listings? And that would be the same as I would structure my lead gen sites for tree services and everything else. The exact same. The structure of the site doesn't change. When you're building silo structure for locations, which is what you would be doing for listings for a real estate site, I would structure it the exact same way. So, most realtors are going to stay within one state, right? Most realtors. Depends if they're on a border town, then they might. I'm just saying for the vast majority, most realtors are going to be in one state and really kind of one area, like farming territory, farming area, whatever you want to call it. That's their farming area, right? That's where they generate their leads and conduct their business, their real estate business, most of the time. And so if that was the case, it's generally going to be within one state. So you can omit building a state into the silo structure. You could go with county and in cities, right? And in neighborhoods. That's a complex silo structure with the county being the top of silo, right? If you're doing a multi-state project, which is what I do for tree service stuff, then I'm going to have the state is the top level silo, location silo, right? Location silos. The top level would be state. Then the subcategory or the next level could either be county or city. And then you can do posts. So that's 3 levels deep. Again, called complex silo structure. Simple silo structure is top level pages and categories and then posts that get placed into those categories. So that's 2 levels deep. A complex silo structure is 3+ levels deep, right? So 3 or more. And so that's going to be a top level page and top level category, then a child page and subcategory, and then posts. So that's 3 levels, if that makes sense. So you could do it with like a multi-state project. I'm going to do state as top level, and then either county or city, depending on how I structure the site, as secondary or subcategory, and then posts at the end, geo posts, which are going to be in a lot of cases, it's going to be actual city posts, if that's clear. For a realtor, like I said, I would most likely, unless they are multi-state, which is not, that doesn't happen as often, I would probably do county as a top level silo structure or category, top page, whatever, top of silo. Then I would do city and then neighborhood as kind of posts, if that makes sense, or even city, then neighborhood, and then listings within neighborhoods, right? So again, it's the same kind of hierarchy. It just depends on how granular you want to get. I would imagine, I'm not a realtor, but I would imagine that, probably having neighborhoods as a subcategory would be effective. So I would think probably top level would be city, and then second level or subcategory would be neighborhoods, and then the actual listings would be posts, if that makes sense. Because that's a very clear hierarchy that Google can understand too, right? I mean, I teach this in Mastermind on how to do what I call geo-relevance, collect geo-relevance data for building out multi-location lead gen assets. I teach exactly the same kind of process of going and identifying all of the towns and communities, census designated places, cities, unincorporated communities, all the stuff that you can find in the Wikipedia page for the county. You can go click on, again, go search your county that you are flipping real estate in, or a realtor, you're marketing real estate in, whatever. Your farming area, go search Wikipedia for the or Google for county Wikipedia, right? Append Wikipedia to the county name search, and then pull up the Wikipedia page and click on the left-hand sidebar where it says communities. And that's going to take you down where it's going to show cities, towns, unincorporated communities, census designated places, etc. Those are all those are named entities. That's why they're listed in Wikipedia. Those are named location entities. So those can all be worked into your silo structure in the appropriate hierarchy. And then you can use other things like Neighborhood Scout, etc., to go find neighborhoods within those areas. So then you can build a silo structure that way. And then the individual listings would be the actual posts. Hopefully that's clear. Anyways, I don't have time to diagram all that shit out right now, or I would, but I just wanted to answer that question from last week. All right, moving on. You guys are chatty about this whole one page thing.
Right? I gotta go back now and see. I didn't see the.
I love single page. Well, I mean, I've done a lot of that for tree service stuff.
Did you see the follow-up though? He said another question. This could give us some more Bradley before he drowns. Question: Evo 4 and or Yaks. Is there a difference in tools? Do you have access to Evo 4 to where you tried it? Do you foresee yourself using one or the other or both?
Well, I do see myself using both, but Evo 4 is a long way away from where Yaks has been developed to. So I'm using Yaks right now for a lot of our directory agency services and stuff. So yeah, I'm using Yaks pretty heavily actually, but Evo 4 because of Peter Drew, I've got a good relationship with Peter, and I know what he's been working on behind the scenes. So I have a lot of hopes for Evo 4, but it's nowhere near where Yaks is in development right now. So it's going to be some time before Peter catches up, and it's a different animal too. There are some similarities for sure, but it is a different, it's a different app entirely, right? Again, there's some crossover for sure, but what the stuff that, I mean, I'm not saying one way or the other. I love Yaks. I use the shit out of it, but I also know that I have a lot of hopes for Evo 4, but it's not anywhere near where Yaks is as far as usability right now, if that's clear. Okay. James, no life, join the crowd. Yeah. Mega Doofus says, I'm struggling to create a repeatable process that generates results. I understand the results will vary, but the process stays the same. Yeah, I mean, you got to identify, that's the problem that I hear from a lot of SEOs is they do a little bit of here and a little bit of there, and they get some results over here, but because they used 18 different methods on this one, and what I'm saying is, if you got, I hear this all the time, guys, I used to do this too, don't get me wrong, so I'm not above this. Okay, I struggled through the exact same thing that a lot of you have struggled through, and that is not having a repeatable process. Because if you have, let's say you got 10 projects you're working on, 10 clients, 10 projects, whatever, and you do a little bit of different things on each of them, and 2 or 3 of them perform really well, and 2 or 3 of them don't perform at all, like they're just shit, and a couple of them are just marginal or they're just kind of cruising along. You have no idea what the hell you did because you did a mix of different things on all these different things, right? And even if you do, like the problem is, you know, that there's no way to have a repeatable, you can't provide consistent results if you're not doing consistent methods, right? You have to have a repeatable process that produces a result most of the time. It's never going to be 100% of the time, ever. I don't care. It's never going to be 100% of the time. I mean, I'm not going to say never, but it's rare that it's ever going to be 100% of the time, right? So what I'm saying is if you can identify certain things that, for the most part, generally, more often than not, produce a result, then that becomes a standard operating procedure that you always apply to every project. If that makes sense. So now you know, again, it doesn't mean that it's always going to work, but it means that the majority of the time it produces a result, right? It moves the needle, so they say. So that's kind of what I've been working on at Semantic Mastery, what I call the directory hybrid agency services, which the first one is called Brand Builder, which is a one-off service that we can sell and provide a money-back guarantee as part of our pitch that will absolutely produce a result within 30 days. Then the next one, the first kind of retainer-based service that I'm selling under that, again, duplicatable, scalable, repeatable services, productized services that 80% of the time produce a result. Not 100% of the time, but 80% of the time, right? So that one's called local landers. And that is using a geopost on a money site, which we kind of just talked about a minute ago with silo structure and everything else. And then also using Yaks to deploy what I call local landers, local landing pages. And again, that's a repeatable process. So why I'm bringing this up is because it's important to have a repeatable process that you know produces results. Well, how do you know it produces results? Well, you got to do a lot of testing. Unfortunately, you got to do a lot of testing to figure out what produces a result. And once you get a result from a test, as long as you've documented the steps that you took, then now you've got something that, okay, this produced a result. See if you can duplicate it on another project. Take those exact same steps and apply them to another project and monitor the results. Did it produce a result, a positive result? If so, now you've got 2 cases that prove that that works. Do it again, right? Maybe apply it to 2 or 3 locations or projects next and make sure that it's producing a result there too. Now you've got something you can turn into an SOP. Now you can delegate that work and you can apply it to every single project. Guys, in SEO, it takes trial and error. There's no way around it. You have to test things. And the problem is, like I said, if you do a mix of different things on every project, some projects are going to perform and some aren't. But how do you know what was what unless you documented everything? And then once you figure out, okay, I documented all of these steps that I applied to this one project and I saw a positive movement. Do it again on another project and determine, did it produce a similar result or at least a positive effect? If so, do it again. Did it produce, and do it 2 or 3 times and like simultaneously then. So what I'm trying to say is it requires trial and error, guys, in order to figure stuff out. But you have to document what you did first so that if you do produce a positive result, you can duplicate that on other projects to determine, is that what produced the effect? See what I'm saying? So again, guys, that's why, and to be clear, like the productized services that been developing called Brand Builder, Local Landers, and the last one's called Automated Appointments, which really is not an SEO thing, it's a conversion thing. Those, again, they're not going to produce a result 100% of the time, but they do 70 to 80% of the time. So the point is, if we fill up our pipeline full of leads and we pitch those services and we know that we're going to win, we're going to produce the result that we promise we can produce 70 to 80% of the time, that's good enough, because yes, we're going to piss a couple people off or a few people that we're not going to be able to produce the result for. But that's why it's good to have productized services, because we can fill our pipeline full of leads that we can pitch these services to. And so we're going to break some eggs to make an omelet, right? We're going to lose some clients that our productized services aren't going to be able to produce the results for. Okay, so be it. We tried, seriously, we tried. But if we've got 20 warm leads in our pipeline that we can pitch our productized services to, and we know that 70% of them are going to receive the result that we promise, why would I bend over backwards to try to get the result for those 30%, 30% that aren't getting the result when it's productized services? And I could just, again, I'm not saying we don't have integrity and we don't try to produce the result, guys, but if you want to be in a custom SEO business, then that's fine, but make sure you're charging accordingly. The way that you scale your agency is to have productized services that produce a result most of the time. And that's what you sell, those services, because then you can scale it. It's repeatable. You can delegate that work. You can automate some of it, right? So now you have a scalable service that you can sell at high volume. And yes, you're going to break some eggs. You have to break some eggs to make an omelet, which means you might lose some of those clients. That's, by the way, that is the difference between the big agencies and the small agencies. Yes, I know all of us in this industry that have integrity want to try to get our clients the best results, of course. And I take it, I really do take it personally. However, what separates the big agencies from us? They have big sales teams and they have a lot of churn. I don't want a lot of churn, but I want the money that big agencies have. So productize your services and sell the shit out of that, right? So that you can have high volume. And yes, you will piss some clients off. And you have the option, by the way, you don't have to just lose those clients. You have the option then to hire a really good SEO that sucks at sales and everything else, but is good at SEO, and have them do the custom work as an add-on for some projects that the productized services don't produce the result, the desired result. You can then offer as an add-on some additional custom SEO services, but I recommend that, unless you just enjoy doing it, that you don't do that. You hire an SEO that does that so that you can continue generating revenue for the agency instead of doing SEO work, because the SEO work that you do isn't what generates revenue. I promise you, right? What you should be doing as the business owner is marketing and sales. So that's what generates the revenue. Hopefully that's clear.
Yeah. So Bradley, there's a good follow-on. Same guy or gal says, how would you recommend to start building a system when bringing clients on? What are the most important tasks to handle first? I think a lot of that was covered, with you need a process, you need that. But I think this is a good question. And I'll just put in my 2 cents real quick on recommend to start building a system. If you don't have a system, this is make-believe land. You've never had a client. You're going after your first client. just document what you do. You know, there's best practices. You need to gather some form of information. So maybe you need to send them a survey. Maybe you've got a process. So you're going to do X, Y, and Z. I know for myself with email clients I have, you know, I'm looking also to get some quick wins. You know, what are things that I can show them that, you know, bolster, you know, my authority and show them that, hey, we're actually doing some stuff for you. So I've kind of found out a few things that, hey, in the first month, here's what I always do with clients, have a process around that. And then the most important task to handle first, that's going to depend on your productized services, I think, as far as what you need and whether you send a survey or you have a call with clients or however you do that, but really getting that process down and becoming a client, you know, take someone else's SEO services or become your own client and see what it's like. What sucks? You know, is it annoying getting 5 emails in the first week and having to fill out a bunch of surveys? Is there a better way to do it? But I think that's part of it. A lot of times you never see what the client sees, and you should really experience that and see what that's like, and you can make some huge improvements.
Yeah. And a couple of things I would recommend is the first stuff that you want to build, systematize, right? That you want to build procedures, working procedures, standard operating procedures, whatever you want to call them around, and either so that you can either automate or delegate, right? I look at procedures, systematizing and standard operating procedures or working procedures as how to delegate. You can also automate things too. But what I'm saying is what are the first things that you should systematize and delegate or automate, get off of your plate specifically? In my opinion, and the way that I've always done it is either repetitive tasks, things that have a repetitive nature to them, because that means I'm going to have to repeat that task over and over again. So I can instantly recover a ton of time back if I just automate or delegate repetitive tasks first, or things that I really just don't enjoy doing. If there are things that I know that I'm going to procrastinate on because I don't like to do them, that's something I want to delegate as soon as possible, because I know that otherwise I'm going to keep pushing it off and pushing it off until it, you know, and then sometimes it won't get done. And then I won't be able to produce the effect that I expected or that, you know, I typically do. So the point is I always want to get rid of the things that I don't want to do first and repetitive tasks first. And as Adam said, kind of there's a process for developing processes, right? It's called a process. And Mike Cooch actually was the one that said that many, many years ago. He had a process. But one of the easiest things that I've kind of learned over the years, because all I do is build SOPs all the time. Every fucking morning, that's what I do on Twitch anymore, is just build SOPs. I swear to God. So it's just a habit that you develop, and getting into which is super important. It's one of the biggest levers you can pull in your business, is to systematize your processes, right? Again, because that's how you can automate and delegate and also scale. You can remove yourself from the process when you have things systematized. And so one of the ways that I like to do things is when you start to do a task, even for the first time, take notes. You don't have to take detailed notes because you're learning the process, right? Whatever it is like that you're learning, whether it's a new software or a new method, whatever, just document at a very high level, like the biggest points. Just start an outline essentially of the process when you are executing that task, so that because I know from doing so many SOPs that sometimes I look at a task that I'm developing a process for, and it's overwhelming because it's like, where do I even start with this? It's so complex of a task. How do I develop an SOP for this? But I've learned over the years, just start doing the process and just taking some notes, even at the very beginning, just high level. Like, these are the major components of this task and the execution of this task. These are the major components, the biggest elements that have to be completed. That's an outline. So you just start with that. The first time you complete the task, just start with that. Then the next time you go to do that task, pull up that outline and just add a little bit of detail to each of those major points. Again, so that it's not so daunting. Looking at something that might take an hour to execute normally, to develop a full SOP, it might take you 8 hours to develop an SOP for a 1-hour task. And I know, because I've done this myself over the years, where I say, oh man, I know I need to systematize this, build a process for this task, but it's going to take me 8 hours to do it. It's only going to take me an hour if I just do the damn task myself. I'm just going to do the damn task because I don't have 8 hours. But guess what happens the next time that task comes up? I'm stuck doing it again for another fucking hour. And I go through that whole battle again of, do I want to spend 8 hours doing this SOP or just complete this task in an hour and move on to other work? And so you get into that cycle where it's very easy to just keep procrastinating on developing the SOP, because it's just so much faster and more efficient to just execute the task yourself. But then you're on that hamster wheel where you just never get off. You're on a treadmill. You're not actually moving anywhere. You're just busy. So again, get out of your own damn way. So start with the tasks that are repetitive and don't make it daunting where it's going to take 8 hours to complete a 1 hour to build an SOP on a 1 hour task. Instead, go ahead and execute that task like you normally would, but spend an extra 10 minutes developing a high level outline. Then the next time you go to do that task again, add another 15, 20, 30 minutes to that process so that you can flesh that outline out a little bit more. Then again, the next time. By the time you've done that 4 or 5 times, now you've got a really well-defined SOP that didn't take you 8 hours to, well, it might have, but you did that spread out over multiple executions of that task, if that makes sense. Now you've got a really well-defined SOP that now you can delegate. Now you don't have to do it anymore. It's done. Does that make sense? And so again, it's the same thing with like people that haven't exercised in 5 years and they want to lose 80 pounds and they make up their mind that they're going to go join a gym and they're going to start working it out an hour a day. I'm going to go for an hour a day. And that lasts for about 3 fucking days. And then they stop because it becomes overwhelming. You try to bite off more than you can chew, right? Too much, too fast. So instead, spread it out. Instead of like, I'm going to work out for an hour a day when I've been sitting on my ass for the last 5 years. Instead, say, I'm going to work out for 5 minutes a day or 10 minutes. Like literally, that's your goal, 10 minutes a day. And then go work out for 10 minutes a day. And then you can start to gradually increase, maybe 15, maybe 20, et cetera. But it's much easier to sustain if you take bite-sized pieces than it is to try to eat the whole elephant all at once, so to speak. You want to add to that, Adam?
No, sir. I think we're good to go.
Okay, sweet. Okay, guys, I think we can wrap it up. Do you see any other questions that need to be answered?
Let me look at this. I don't think so. Yeah, I think we're good.
I do see David and James talking about, yeah, and that's another way to do it is just record yourself, like narrate a video, screencast video as you're executing a task, and then hire a VA to develop the SOP. I've done that too, although I'm very anal about my SOPs, no kidding. So I stopped doing that. I stopped having a VA do, because every time I would get the SOP back, the written part of the SOP back from the video that I would provide, I'd end up spending a lot of time in there reformatting it the way it comes. Very anal about that. And so I still do all the written SOP steps myself, but you can do that. You can, if you narrate a video very, very clearly on a while you're executing that task, and then hand it to a VA, and you train, again, develop an SOP for developing SOPs, and then tell them this is exactly how I want it done. And it might take you a few iterations with them to get it right. But once they get it right, now you can just record yourself executing tasks, send it to the VA, they record the SOP, and now you've got it done. You don't even have to worry about it, right? So anyway. Okay, guys, I got to wrap it up. Thanks everybody for being here. We see you guys next week. Oh, by the way, I'll be off for the next 2 days. So I'll be back on Monday. We did the Build with Bradley group earlier today, guys. So those of you in the mastermind are wondering tomorrow where it was today, which I did post in the Circle community about that. So